Title IX. That's all I gotta say. Oh, 501.
Nobody told me Mark was here.
Okay, welcome to the December 12th board meeting. Call to order, please. Roll
Mr.
call.
Sergio.
Yes.
Ms. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard.
Here.
Ms. Washington.
Here.
Mr. Ferguson.
Here.
Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recognition of visitors.
We have none? Oh, we do, but we're going to go in a second. Ready there?
You want to do it for 401 is an award?
Yep. We ready?
Yeah.
Mr. Coleman, it's yours.
All right, thanks. Honored to be here with my longtime partner in crime here, Mrs. Cheers. So it's good to be working with her again on lots of little things. And first things first, I just want to thank everyone for the time, Dr. Graham, Tia, the board, everyone for an opportunity to spend just a few minutes recognizing one of our greats here at Lorain High, alumni, Pablo Oquendo. So real quick, just to give you a backstory in this, Pablo wrote me a letter a little while back in which he shared his journey trying to pursue things like a varsity letter, participating in a variety of sports, and also sharing a number of the barriers that he experienced along the way. Now, I'm using the word barrier. He never did in his letter. He described some things that I would have perceived as a barrier, and that's what first resonated with me in reading the letter and just kind of observing Pablo and getting to know him. He wasn't framing things that we might traditionally think as barriers. Instead, he was just framing them as things he's encountered that have helped fortify and reinforce the path that he is on. And for those of you that are familiar with Pablo's path, I think these are Mrs. Cheer's words, so I'll credit her. And I think anyone who's familiar with Pablo's path is just in awe of it, everything he's done and his journey thus far. I won't read the entire letter, but I'll read the last couple sentences. It gives you a good taste of the theme here. Mr. Coleman, I want to use my skills and experience to educate people about music and inspire others to follow their passions, no matter how difficult their road may be. One final career plan of mine is to open a karate dojo. This is in addition to a number of other things he plans on doing. I want to show kids like myself how to defend themselves physically and mentally against any type of adversity. And that's been, I think, a theme for Pablo. It's not enough for him to overcome obstacles, overcome barriers himself. He's always looking to inspire others to do the same, and so that's why we're here tonight. Pablo is obviously a special young man, and like I said, Mrs. Cheers and I have worked together on lots of things over the years, and looking forward to continue working with her on lots of things. And I won't put words in her mouth, but I know as leaders we both feel it's very important to memorialize these types of stories with our young people. A couple reasons. One, it's certainly important to positively affirm that you're cared for and loved here, specific to that person. But we also believe it's important to shine a light on our kiddos just to help others see what's possible and to serve as an inspiration. So after reading that letter, reviewing, thinking, one of the things we've done is we've established this as kind of an annual award, which is going to be given to a Lorain High School student each year. It's going to be called the Pablo Oquendo Principal's Award of Excellence. And so it is going to be meant to showcase students who are leaders, students who have breadth of accomplishment, and students who overcome adversity. We'll name one student per year as the winner of this award, and the first winner is actually Pablo is first, I take that back, but the second, keeping it in the family, is Celestino Sivo, and if you pay attention to this monitor soon enough, you'll see him up there, so keeping it in the family there. But again, idea really is to just showcase the greatness in our kiddos, and again, this is a great segue, I think, for Mrs. Cheers. This has been and will be a focus of her leadership, and so good time to pull her into the conversation and talk through some more. Yep.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. Congratulations, Pablo. And Miss Ritchie, I know you are a proud parent tonight and always. It is my pleasure, Pablo, to congratulate you. Your story really resonates with me, and I just want to thank you for sharing. And I've also had the pleasure of witnessing Pablo's many gifts and talents and accomplishments over the years, starting with one of his freshman principals at Titan Academy, along with Mr. Coleman. So it is an honor for me tonight to continue this tradition of recognizing students that exemplify characteristics of academic excellence and extraordinary talent. And I just want to thank you for that, Pablo, because I feel like you've held us to a standard. I've made it my project as principal and also a proud Lorain High alumna to dedicate space in A building right outside of the main office to showcase our students. So I look forward to that. Hopefully in 20 years, we've done our job. If Mr. Coleman and I come back and visit the high school, hopefully we see 20 more faces in that hallway. And then we know that we've left a legacy that you've started, Pablo. Thank you.
And if we might, Ms. Ritchie, do we want to pause for a moment? If any board members want to come and just circle over and potentially get a picture? Dr. Graham, anyone?
Let's do it, receiving line, yeah.
Thanks again. Appreciate the time and space and opportunity to honor our kiddos.
Without a doubt, one of my best parts about my job is cheering for great people and great kids and watching them grow into people like that. So I want to thank everybody who had part of celebrating great people. Pat and Melissa, thanks for your leadership in putting this together. And Pablo, thanks to you for setting the path and setting the bar high and making sure people walk it. So just impressive and well-deserved. Like I told him when we were talking back there, and he's a 4.0 student in college, and I said, I'm not at all surprised, but I am impressed. And that's just kind of who Pablo is. So thank you.
Okay, first hearing of the public.
Just before you go, Bill, I'd like to also add to Pablo. So I was on a call with the president at Central State, and when I announced myself and who I was, the first thing he identified Lorain with was with Pablo. So you're putting us on the map at a very high level. Congratulations with that. They're very impressed with you. And I think you went on a presidential scholarship, if I remember. That is very good. Congratulations. Thank you, Bill.
And I would just say, as the National Honor Society advisor, having both him and his brother, their musical talent is amazing and add such a flair to our induction ceremony. So, and having them as students was a pleasure, for sure.
And he still says yes. Like, he was just here with the breakfast with Santa. You know, when he's home, we see him around. You know, him and Sivo both are, you know, when they're asked to perform and they're available, they come home and they say yes. So we appreciate you. Thank you. Congrats to Mom, too. Thank you, Mom.
That's right. Good kids don't turn out that way by accident, so well done.
That's right. They don't get apples from an orange tree.
Wow.
Wow, that is congratulations. Great job.
Now, first hearing of the public. Okay, a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Ms. Nazaria.
Yes.
Ms. Washington.
Yes.
Old business. Anyone? Report and recommendation of the treasurer.
At the last board meeting, we approved the 5-year forecast for OD submission, and as promised, I do have the presentation.
You do? Okay.
First, we'll take a look at a simplified version of the forecast. In this simplified version, it's showing the district's beginning cash balance for each year of the forecast, revenues, expenses, deficit spending status, and ending cash balances. Based on current revenue projections and spending plans, we will be deficit spending in our general fund by the end of this fiscal year, with a negative cash balance beginning in fiscal year 2026. Please keep in mind that we are still in unprecedented times due to the pandemic and how it relates to our district spending. As we continue to work through ESSER spending and allowances, especially related to construction projects and continuity of services, our numbers will continue to fluctuate. Our forecast does have the potential to look drastically different by the time we get to the May forecast. Overall, our anticipated revenue projections are very similar to what we projected back in May. One change that will increase our revenues a bit for this fiscal year is our enrollment numbers. In May, the district projected an enrollment of about 5,500 students for fiscal year 23. But based on our most current EMIS data, the enrollment numbers for fiscal year 23 have been updated to over 5,600 students. Based on initial trending, we're also starting to reflect a slower decline in enrollment in our district. This creates an anticipated increase in our funding that is provided by the state funding formula. Expenses have increased by approximately $5 million from what we projected in May. This includes changes in several expenditure line items. There's an increase of about $2.9 million to personnel services. This includes adjustments for fiscal year 23 having 27 pays rather than 26, as well as the cost of internal bus drivers and monitors hired for special education services and to meet all other transportation needs that may not be provided by Auxilio. We are expecting a $700,000 decrease in employee retirement and insurance benefits. This is due to the health insurance premium holiday in December. We are also expecting a $750,000 decrease in purchase services related to the cost differences in the move from First Student to Auxilio. There will be an increase of about $1.7 million to supplies and materials for upcoming curriculum adoptions for social studies, science, and English language arts. Lastly, we accounted for the increase of about $2.2 million to capital outlay for the purchase of buses and vans. Next, we will review ESSER spending. As a reminder, our district is eligible to receive a total of just under $58 million from 3 rounds of ESSER allocations. We do not anticipate additional federal funding. Due to the restrictive nature of the funds, this money is not a guarantee, and we cannot just put all of those funds into the general fund. Each dollar must be approved by the state prior to its use, based on rules and guidelines set by the federal and state governments. ESSER funds are intended to help school districts safely reopen schools, measure and effectively address significant learning loss, and take other actions to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the students and families who depend on our K-12 schools. We also have to follow maintenance of effort and maintenance of equity guidelines when utilizing ESSER funds. This requires us to spend at least the same amount or more of state and local general funds from year to year. If this doesn't happen, a portion of Title, IDEA, and ESSER funds would have to be returned to the state. We used all of the ESSER 1 allocation to help us cover our losses in revenue, as well as pay for additional costs due to the pandemic. Examples of these costs include materials and postage for curriculum mailed to students during the shutdown, additional cleaning supplies and equipment, PPE such as masks, and technology for students and staff to be able to work and learn remotely. This portion of funding must be used by September 23. We're using ESSER 2 to bridge the gaps between the original needs caused by the pandemic and the beginning stages of the plan to address continuity of academic and non-academic services. This portion of funding must also be used by September 23. For ESSER 3, our focus here is the continuity plan. This portion of funding must be used by September 24. At this point, we have about $40 million in ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds left to spend for fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. We plan to spend about $8.5 million on programs and services. This includes recovery learning programs, the arts expansion, after-school programming, Chromebooks and MacBooks, Mercy Clinic medical vans, cleaning supplies, and PPE. We plan to spend about $11.5 million on staff. This includes elementary school counselors, wellness coaches, behavior specialists, additional fine arts teachers, class coverage, and additional substitute costs. We plan to spend about $20 million on construction projects. This includes roofing projects, stadium upgrades, and the potential partnership to provide free citywide internet, helping to resolve accessibility inequities that have plagued our community for decades. This concludes the November forecast presentation.
Now we're on the report and recommendations of the treasurer.
Yep, so I have items 8.01 through 8.04 for approval.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call.
Ms. Nazario?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Ms. Washington?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Okay, report and recommendation of the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Sturgill. Just a couple of shout-outs here before I get started. One, and I'm a little embarrassed it took me this long to get around to it, but it was in my notes and somehow skimmed over it a couple of times. But I would like to recognize and honor Dr. Mark Ballard, who received his doctorate in Sacred Arts Divinity from WWMI Bible Institute and Seminary. So again, modeling the fact that education matters at all ages. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'd also like to give a shout out too to Drew Stevens, our tech director, who's sitting out in the audience looking at me very surprised. And when Tia was going over some of the things on there, she talked about decrease in purchase services. And one of the things that, one of the many things that Drew has done very, very, very well is surround himself with great people. And because of the talented people he has around him and because of his leadership, we're able to do a lot more things in-house, which saves us a lot of money because when we've historically reached out because we didn't have some of those, the availability of some of those talents. And for example, there's a position on the agenda today that is already, over the next couple of months, will save us about $200,000 just by adding a person. So even when you take the salary and health care and all this stuff into consideration, we're going to save a couple $100,000 on that one alone. And I know we have many that you've done and evaluated our system, so I just appreciate the careful eye and the respect you have for our taxpayers and making sure that we're getting the work done the right way, hiring local people as opposed to outsourcing. So thank you for that. And a couple items I'd like to bring your attention to before I recommend them. Item 10.13 is an approval of a contract with Elyria Bicycle Education Center Incorporated. And this is part of our attendance campaign, but I've been trying to do this now for a couple of years. And full disclosure, the person who runs that operation is my father-in-law, but it's completely volunteer work. No one gets paid, and it's a nonprofit organization. And what they do is people donate bikes, and he and a group of volunteers go over everything. They redo the brakes, they make sure the tires are good, the rims are good, and once the bike is in good, safe operating condition, they sell it for just enough money to buy the parts for the next broken bike. So what they have offered us, and I am recommending tonight, is 50 bikes at $35 a piece. So again, this will be another opportunity for our kids to get to school and have bikes. I'm hoping this is the beginning of a strong relationship. Also part of our attendance campaign, which just kind of threw it in, not at the last minute, because it was something that our wellness coaches recognized months ago, that the reason a lot of our students aren't coming to school, or one of the reasons why they're not taking their hoods off when they get here, is because they need haircuts. So I would like to thank Healthy Hair and Styles Haircuts for coming to our Winter Wonderland event and giving, I think it was 60 haircuts is what I heard. So just, again, partnering with people in our community to take care of our kids, and there's just great opportunity. So with that being said, I'd like to recommend for the board to approve items 9.01 to 9.09, personnel matters.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Ms. Nazario,
Yes.
Ms. Washington.
Yes.
I'd like the board to consider for approval items 10.01 to 10.13, operation matters.
Motion.
Second.
I'll second whoever first. If Barbie did the first, I'll be the second.
Either
Roll
way.
call, please.
Ms. Washington,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Ms. Nazario,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
And that's all I have this evening, Mr. President.
Okay. Any new business? Any reports and requests from board members?
Yes. I was wondering, with the semester ending, if we could get an update of where our students are in relationship to HB 410, maybe in January,
Yep.
just out of curiosity.
And I don't have a report, Bill, but I would like to add to what Jeff was saying about Drew and turn it back on Jeff to tell him that I think he's assembled such an amazing team with all of you guys. I mean, since you've been back, Jeff, we can line all of your front line up and ask any one of them to step forward, and you can say as many nice things as you said about any one of them as you said about Drew. So that's a testament to our leaders. So with that, Jeff, you're doing an awesome job, and thank you for all your hard work.
I appreciate that, Mark, and I appreciate the recognition of the great people that we have working here. We have an amazing team, and I do agree that at any given time, people step up, and we take turn carrying one another. So thank you for recognizing that.
Yes, sir. And Merry Christmas. That's y'all's raise this year. I'm joking.
Oh.
Second hearing of the public. Okay. Now, the next board meeting will be December 26th at 5 o'clock, and we are going into executive session.
Yes, and I guess the question to discuss tonight is, I don't know if we need a meeting on December 26th.
No.
I was going to say.
So
I make a
T and I
motion to
discussed it.
not
We don't
have
have
a
anything
meeting.
to be on there, but if you'd like to meet, of course, we'll be here.
Did you want to cancel it right now?
Well, that's what I want to bring it up to the five of you to see if it's appropriate. If it is, then we need to schedule an organizational meeting for January.
Yeah, I would say that if we need one, that you will call a meeting,
Sounds good.
okay?
Did you want to schedule the organizational meeting tonight, or did you want to work on that offline?
Well, that's the second, will be the second Monday in January.
January 9th,
Would you do it? Okay.
Yeah.
January 9th,
Yeah, second Monday, that's good.
So we have an organizational meeting and then the meeting?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to see what we're going into executive session for. One executive session for A2, employment, and B and D. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Agreed.
Roll call?
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Ms. Nazario,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Ms. Washington,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Okay, will we have any decisions
No.
coming up? No decisions coming up. Okay.
Yep. And I'll mention that in there too, because Jay had the same question.
Thank you.